The average lifespan of a gladiator in ancient Rome was tragically brief, often no more than 3 to 5 years once they entered the arena, a grim reminder of how disposable these men were to the society that both adored and exploited them. To walk through a reconstructed ludus, or gladiator training school, is to step into an institution that looked and functioned less like a place of education and more like a prison. High walls cut off the outside world, narrow cells confined the fighters, and the iron discipline of trainers and guards ensured that every man inside lived under constant surveillance. The air must have been filled with the sounds of clashing weapons, barked commands, and the heavy thud of men being knocked to the ground, all rehearsals for the bloody spectacles demanded by the Roman crowd. Most gladiators had no choice in their fate. They were slaves bought at auction, prisoners of war dragged from conquered provinces, or criminals condemned to fight until death. Yet not all were coerced. Some volunteered, choosing the gladiator's life in the hope of achieving glory, financial reward, or simply a chance to escape poverty and obscurity. To those men, the arena was both a gamble and a stage, a place where one could rise from nothing to the status of a living legend. Life inside the ludus was grueling and unrelenting, a rigid cycle that began at dawn. Gladiators rose early to endure punishing physical exercises designed to build endurance, speed, and raw strength. They trained in teams, practicing footwork, balance, and reflexes with wooden weapons far heavier than the real ones, forging their muscles to withstand the strain of combat. Their days were filled with specialized instruction depending on their assigned role. A retiarius, lightly armed with net and trident, learned agility, entangling moves, and quick strikes, while a murmillo, clad in heavy armor with a gladius and large shield, drilled in brute force and shield tactics. Others became Thracians or secutores, each with distinct techniques that matched their weaponry and armor. The training was exhausting, but it was methodical, turning human beings into efficient instruments of entertainment and violence. Their diet, surprisingly, was not centered on meat, but on barley, beans, and porridge, giving them the nickname hordeariu, or barley men. These foods built bulk and energy, while ashes and bone dust were sometimes mixed into their meals to strengthen their bodies with calcium. Discipline within the ludus was severe. Disobedience or laziness could bring beatings, confinement, or even death. Hierarchy was strict, with trainers and lanistae, often former gladiators themselves, ruling over the men with absolute authority. Despite this harsh existence, life outside the training ground offered glimpses of humanity and even privilege. Some gladiators gained devoted followers, receiving fan mail, gifts, or even marriage proposals from admirers, especially women of the Roman elite who saw them as symbols of raw masculinity and danger. In rare cases, a gladiator might earn enough victories to win his freedom, receiving a wooden sword, the rudis, as a symbol of release. Medical care in the ludus was surprisingly advanced, with specialized physicians trained to treat wounds quickly and effectively, using ointments, herbal remedies, and even primitive surgical techniques to preserve fighters for future matches. This level of care was unheard of for ordinary slaves, underlining the paradox of gladiators. They were simultaneously expendable and highly valuable investments. Yet their social standing remained conflicted. To the masses, they were heroes, idols, and even sex symbols, but to the upper classes, they were tainted by blood, dishonor, and servitude, never truly accepted as respectable figures despite their popularity. When the ultimate test arrived, preparation for combat was as much psychological as physical. Gladiators underwent rituals to steel their courage, sharpened their weapons, and performed mental exercises to accept the possibility of death. The patron, or editor, who sponsored the games often decided the style and intensity of the fights, ensuring they catered to the bloodlust of the Roman public. For the gladiators, this meant their survival often depended not just on skill, but on the whims of powerful men and the mood of the crowd. The procession into the arena, the pompa, was a spectacle in itself, with gladiators parading through the gates of the Colosseum to the roar of tens of thousands. Beneath the dazzling atmosphere, each man carried the crushing awareness that he might never leave the arena alive, stepping into combat where one misstep could mean mutilation or execution. Yet their legacy endured far beyond their short lives. The image of the gladiator came to symbolize endurance, courage, and defiance in the face of death, values that resonated deeply within Roman society and that still echo in our collective imagination today. The games were a mirror of Roman culture. They displayed power, discipline, and order, but also cruelty, excess, and the insatiable hunger for spectacle. In modern times, the struggles of gladiators find parallels in high-stakes professions where individuals risk their health, sanity, and even lives for the applause of spectators or the demands of institutions. Athletes who push their bodies to the limit, soldiers who fight wars for nations, performers who sacrifice themselves to entertain. From the brutal lives of gladiators, we learn of the human capacity to endure suffering, to adapt under oppression, and to fight for survival even when the odds are stacked against us. Their story forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about admiration, exploitation, and the timeless hunger of societies to watch others risk everything for glory.